She told one person, that was all. One person she trusted completely, a woman she had known for 11 years, who had been present at her wedding, who had held her hand through a miscarriage, who knew the name of every fear she carried. She told her the plan. Not because she needed advice, because she was so full of the excitement of it that she could not hold it inside for another day. The business she had been building in the evenings after her children slept. The client she had finally landed after 8 months of outreach. The quiet, growing certainty that this was the year everything was going to shift. She told her over coffee on a Saturday morning in a kitchen that smelled like cardamom and warm bread. And the woman she told listened with every appearance of genuine joy. She smiled. She asked questions. She said the right things. And then, in the weeks that followed, something happened that my friend could not immediately name or locate, but could feel with complete precision. The energy around her plan began to change. Small things. A conversation with the client that felt subtly different. A door that had been open and was now slightly less open. A quality of interference that she could not trace to any single source, but that was unmistakably present. It took her 4 months to understand what had occurred. And when she understood it, she came to me. She sat across from me in my study and she said, "I thought I was being unkind by not sharing. I thought keeping it to myself was a kind of selfishness." And I looked at her and I said, "The ancient teachers anticipated exactly this moment. They anticipated it because they had seen it 10,000 times before you were born. And they left us a teaching so precise, so specific, so structurally complete, that it names not just the danger, but the exact 5 categories of person through whom our dreams and our financial intentions leak out of the realm of possibility and into the realm of the permanently delayed." I am Rabbi Naomi. I have spent 32 years inside the texts of Jewish wisdom, the Torah, the Talmud, the ethical literature of the great teachers, the Kabbalistic writings on the relationship between speech, intention, and the spiritual mechanics of how plans and dreams move from the invisible world into the physical one. And what I can tell you with absolute certainty, after all of those years and all of the lives I have walked alongside, is this. The single most underestimated threat to your financial future is not the economy, not the competition, not your own lack of discipline or knowledge or strategy. It is premature disclosure. It is the sharing of what is not yet complete with people who do not have the capacity, not the malice, not the ill will, but the capacity to hold what you have shared in a way that protects it. The ancient teachers called this the principle of Sod, the principle of the secret, the guarded thing, the intention that must be protected in its vulnerable early stage, the way a seed must be protected beneath the soil before it has developed the root structure to survive contact with the open air. And they were so specific about this principle that they named the 5 types of person through whom this leakage most commonly occurs. Not because those 5 types of person are evil, but because their particular relationship to your dream, your plan, your financial intention makes them structurally unable to hold it safely. Today, I am going to name all 5. I am going to tell you exactly who they are, exactly why the tradition identified them, and exactly what to do differently. But you must stay with me through all 5, because the 5th person on this list is the one that will be the most difficult to hear. And it is the most important. Before we go any further, I want you to type the words, "My dream is protected," in the comments right now. Not because your dream is already fully protected, perhaps it is not, but because the act of declaring protection is the first act of protection. In the Kabbalistic understanding, the words we speak over our intentions carry weight. They establish a field around what we are building. Type those 3 words now, publicly, with full intention, and then come back to me. I want to give you a picture before we begin the 5, a metaphor that the tradition uses and that I have returned to hundreds of times in my teaching because I have never found a more accurate one. Imagine that your financial intention, your plan, your business, your dream of what your life can become, is a flame. A small flame, new, not yet strong enough to hold its shape against wind. In this state, the flame has enormous potential. Given the right conditions, shelter, oxygen, fuel, time, it will grow into something that cannot be extinguished by a passing breeze. But in its early stage, it is vulnerable to exactly one thing: exposure to air it is not yet strong enough to withstand. And the 5 people I am going to describe to you are each of them in their own way a source of that air. Not because they blow against your flame deliberately, but because the quality of their presence, their skepticism, their envy, their well-meaning worry, their casual speech, their unexamined relationship to your potential, creates a wind that your flame, in its early stage, cannot survive. The teaching of the tradition is not to isolate yourself from these people forever. It is to understand that a flame must be sheltered until it is strong enough to withstand the weather. And the specific 5 categories of person the ancient teachers identified are the specific weathers your flame will most often encounter before it is ready. Here is the first person, the doubter who loves you. This is the hardest one to recognize as a threat because their doubt comes wrapped entirely in care. This is the parent who asks how you are going to survive if it does not work. The spouse who suggests you think about it a little longer. The oldest friend who reminds you, gently, with genuine concern, of the other times you felt this certain and the other times it did not go the way you hoped. Their love is real. Their worry is real. Every word they say comes from a place of genuine investment in your well-being. And none of that changes the effect. Because the tradition's teaching on the doubter who loves you is not about their intention. It is about what happens inside you when you hear their doubt spoken aloud. A new financial intention, a plan that is still forming, still gathering its energy, still in the fragile stage where the dreamer's own belief is the primary fuel, cannot withstand the weight of a trusted person's expressed uncertainty without cost. Not because you will immediately abandon the plan, but because doubt, once spoken into a dream by someone whose opinion carries weight with you, does not stay outside you. It comes in. It takes up residence. It begins to ask its questions in your own voice rather than theirs. And the energy that was flowing toward the plan begins to be redirected toward defending the plan against the doubt, first to them, then to yourself. This is not a character flaw in the doubter who loves you. It is not a character flaw in you for being affected by their doubt. It is simply the nature of how belief works in the early stage of a financial intention. Protect the flame from this weather until the flame is strong enough to withstand it. Tell the doubter who loves you, when the plan is far enough along that their doubt cannot reach its roots, not before. The second person, the comparer. You know this person. They are not your enemy. They may be among your closest colleagues or your most frequent social contacts. But there is a specific habit of mind that defines them in every conversation about anyone else's forward movement. The immediate, reflexive need to locate what you are doing in relation to what they are doing, or what someone else has done, or what the standard is, or what the typical outcome looks like. You tell them about your plan, and within 30 seconds the conversation has moved to someone they know who tried something similar, or to the industry statistics for businesses like yours, or to their own parallel experience that they would like to tell you about at some length. They are not trying to diminish you. They are simply incapable in that moment of receiving your intention as a standalone fact that does not need to be located in a comparative framework. And the damage they do to your financial intention is not dramatic. It is quiet. It is the slow, almost imperceptible deflation of the specific and singular quality of what you are building. Because the thing about a real financial intention, a genuine plan that has come from your specific experience, your specific gifts, your specific reading of a specific opportunity, is that it lives in its singularity. It is not like other plans. It does not follow the typical trajectory. It does not fit neatly into the framework the comparer will immediately reach for. And every conversation that forces your plan into a comparative framework chips away at your access to the singular quality that makes it yours. The ancient teaching on this is precise. Before a plan has found its form in the physical world, it must be protected from the language of comparison. Because comparison is the language of what already exists, and what you are building does not exist yet. It is becoming. Let it become without being measured against what has already become. The third person, the broadcaster. This person is perhaps the easiest of the five to identify because their defining characteristic is visible and consistent. They do not keep things to themselves. It is not malice, it is temperament. It is the person who shares news before it is ready to be shared, who tells stories that were told to them in confidence, not out of cruelty but out of the sheer, irrepressible social energy that makes them unable to sit with information without releasing it. They are often warm, often funny, often genuinely delightful company. And they are structurally incapable of being the guardian of your unformed intention. Because an intention that is shared before it is ready, before the foundation is built, before the first real results have emerged, before the plan has enough physical reality to withstand public attention, is an intention that has been exposed to the most damaging weather of all. The awareness of others who did not choose to know, who did not ask, who have no particular investment in its success, and whose casual reception of the information can do damage that no single person could do intentionally. The tradition's warning here is specific. Do not tell the broadcaster anything you are not yet ready to have everyone know. Because what you tell the broadcaster, everyone will know. And there is a spiritual law in the ancient teaching, a law that every serious practitioner of this wisdom will confirm from their own experience. That a dream announced before it is ready is a dream that has spent its energy on announcement rather than on becoming. The speaking of it releases something that was meant to stay internal a little longer. Protect what is not yet ready to be known. The fourth person, the wounded rival. I want to be careful how I describe this person, because the tradition is equally careful. It does not ask us to demonize them or to cut them out of our lives with dramatic finality. What it asks is that we understand the specific dynamic that makes sharing our financial intentions with them genuinely dangerous. The wounded rival is someone who has their own unfulfilled financial ambition, their own dream that has been delayed, diminished, or repeatedly disappointed, and whose relationship to your progress is therefore colored, not entirely by choice, by the comparison between where you are going and where they have been. This is not a moral failing. It is a deeply human response to a painful situation. But when you share a plan, a success, an emerging opportunity with someone who is in that particular pain, what you have done is placed your flame in the path of a wind that is blowing very hard and has very little to do with you. The ancient teachers were not naive about human nature. They understood that the energy of someone else's frustrated ambition, directed at your emerging intention, even without malice, even without conscious ill will, creates a spiritual interference that the tradition takes very seriously. The term in the Kabbalistic literature is ayin hara, the evil eye. And while the popular understanding of this concept is often reduced to superstition, the actual teaching is far more precise and far more psychologically sophisticated. It describes the specific energetic consequence of having your good fortune witnessed by someone whose pain makes it impossible for them to receive that witnessing neutrally. It does not require them to curse you. It does not require any conscious negative intent. It simply requires that their pain and your good news occupy the same moment. And that occupation has consequences that the tradition documents with a consistency that I, after 32 years, no longer regard as anything other than accurate. Share your financial intentions with the wounded rival only when they have fully arrived, when they are no longer intentions but accomplished facts that do not require the protection of early-stage shelter. The fifth person. And I told you this one would be the most difficult. I told you it was the most important. And I want you to receive it with the same openness you would bring to any of the other four, even though it is going to require something different from you. The fifth person is the version of yourself that announces before it acts. The part of you that gets the energy of the plan and, instead of directing that energy entirely into the work of making the plan real, redirects a portion of it into talking about the plan, into describing it to people who did not ask, into posting about it before the first result has arrived, into the warm glow of being someone who has a big intention before you are someone who has done the big thing. This is not a character flaw. It is one of the most universal human tendencies I have encountered in 32 years of pastoral work. And I say this with complete absence of judgment because I have felt it myself and I know exactly how it feels. The excitement of a new financial intention is a specific kind of energy, and that energy seeks an outlet. And the easiest outlet, the one that gives the fastest relief, the fastest sense of forward motion, the fastest feeling of having already begun, is speech, the announcement, the share, the post. And the ancient teaching on this, the teaching that the tradition is most insistent about, the one that appears again and again in the Talmudic literature on intention and outcome, is that premature speech about an intention is not a supplement to the energy of the intention. It is a substitute for it. The relief you feel when you announce your plan is real, and it is precisely the problem, because that relief is the dissipation of energy that was meant to stay compressed and directed toward the work. It is the flame consuming itself in a flare rather than burning steadily toward the fuel. The discipline of silence about your financial intentions, genuine, sustained, not because I am hiding, but because I am protecting silence, is one of the most powerful practices the ancient wisdom tradition offers to anyone who is serious about building something real. Not silence forever. Silence until the thing is strong enough to be known, until it has roots, until its existence in the physical world is no longer dependent on the energy of belief alone, but has its own evidence to stand on. That is when you speak. That is when you share. And when you do, you will notice that the sharing feels completely different. Not a relief, but a celebration. Not an outlet for unused energy, but a report from a place you actually arrived at. I have a complete resource, a full framework for the practice of intentional protection of your financial plans, built from the ancient wisdom on speech, silence, and the specific conditions under which a dream moves from intention to reality. And it is in the description below this video. If today's teaching landed with weight, if you recognized one of these 5 people, or recognized yourself in the 5th, go there. The full architecture is waiting for you. Now I want you to do something specific. I want you to go to the comments and tell me which of the 5 you have encountered most in your own financial life. Not to expose anyone, not to name names, but to name the pattern. Because the pattern that you can name is the pattern you can begin to protect yourself from. Tell me the number, 1 through 5, and if you are willing, 1 sentence about what it cost you. I will read every one. I respond to the ones that are honest because honesty is the beginning of the change. If this channel has been giving you teaching that changes something real in the way you understand your financial life, not just inspiration that fades by Tuesday, but genuine understanding that restructures how you think, subscribe now. Because the people who are here for the serious work deserve to receive the full body of what I am building here, and I am building it for them. And if today reached something in you that you needed to hear, if one of these 5 people showed up in your memory as I was describing them, and you felt the quiet recognition of something you have known but never had language for, press the like button. because there is someone in your life right now who is about to share their most important financial intention with exactly the wrong person. And this teaching, if it reaches them in time, is the thing that protects them. Your press of that button is the mechanism by which it does. May your dreams be sheltered until they are strong. May the words you speak over your intentions be words of protection and not of premature release. May you develop the discipline of the seed, the willingness to remain beneath the surface, unseen and unannounced, for exactly as long as the roots require. And may what emerges when you finally rise be so rooted, so grounded, so undeniably present in the physical world that no wind, not doubt, not comparison, not envy, not interference, not your own impatience, can touch it. Shalom.